Today we're going to talk about sensory. Sensory comes in the form of all the senses that we have. Comes in this form of smell, taste, touch, sight, and sound. So what you can smell, what you can touch, what you taste, what you can see, and what you can hear. Everyone reacts differently to different sensories. So sensory is a trial and error. And you will try 3 that don't work, then you'll get one that works. Try 3 more that don't work and you'll get one that works. That's okay. Just keep trying them until you build up a library of senses that do work for your student or students, and then just know which one you're going to use for which student, and maybe even in which instance, because they might need different sensories at different times or for different things. So sensory is trial and error, and sensory is limitless. Anything within the realm of our senses can help desensitize a student. And students will tell you when they need these sensory breaks. Not in the form of, I need a sensory break, but they're going to show some less than desirable behaviors. And so in order for us to bridge the gap to helping them be able to focus and concentrate on their learning, we need to be tuned into when these behaviors are happening. What do we need to do to help them overcome what they're needing? And that is providing them with sensory breaks. And they can happen planned or on the fly. So what I do in my classroom, and whether your classroom is at home or in a classroom, you set up what works best for you. So I have sensory stations that I can send students to, where I have all the items we're going to talk about ready for them to use. But I also have smaller versions of almost everything in a bucket right at the table with me. So whether you're in your classroom or you're at the kitchen table, get that bucket ready and you'll have your tools to pull out when you need them. So let's just talk about a few things that I use, and then hopefully that'll get your mind turning on, oh, well, I have this, maybe I can try this. So let's talk about smell. That's kind of one that is a little more difficult to do maybe in the classroom. But at home, obviously, you have a lot more choices. One thing that I do in my classroom is I have some small jars. And I have used old spice jars or old medicine bottles that I've cleaned out. Anything that will hold a small bit of cotton. And then I've gotten some essential oils. And once again, not every smell is going to work for every kid. So you will find something that they enjoy. Some scents that I use pretty regularly: lavender, almond, peppermint, spearmint, chocolate, jasmine. Those are some pretty basic ones, but you can, just branch out and you can create your sensory box is limitless as well. And so what they do is they just open it up, and the cotton has the smell, and they smell it. What I've also done is I have pictures of like lavender, and so they have to try to match the picture to the scent. Obviously that's something that's been pre-taught, and we went over what the scents are and in like a one-on-one situation or at our table. So that's a way to extend it, is having the pictures for them to match. Then they've got a visual to go with their smell. So smell boxes are really effective in the classroom. One thing you want to make sure you have before you start your sensories, whether you're at the table or they're at a center, is have some sort of timer. I have some quiet timers. I also have some minute timers, 3-minute timers, and 5-minute timers. And I use these at the station as well as at my table. And this takes a little teaching, but eventually your students will know that when the sand is done, their turn is over and it's time to get back to learning. And after a few times, it's really surprising how easily they give up the sensory and they're ready to go back and do some work, because they know that when they need another break, they can get it right back for that 1-minute, 3-minute, or 5-minute time. Let's talk about some of the other things that I use. Let's see. Our next one is taste. And I don't really have anything to show for taste, but some kids, they just need a little snack or peppermint is a good thing. And I usually keep like some trail mix and I'll just use coffee filters and give them a little snack or something. And it's just kind of, when they're eating, that's mine. When I'm eating, I'm able to concentrate more. So I always have some kind of little snack, Skittles or popcorn or trail mix, something. And that's something you can easily have at your table, whether you're in the classroom or at home. When we're touching, there's so many things for touching. One of my favorites, and my students' favorites, are Orbeez. And at my table, I have, at each table in my classroom, a small tub. But then at our sensory table, we have a large tub. So they can actually immerse their arms and just get their hands covered and really get into the Orbeez. I bought like 150,000 Orbeez for $15. So they're relatively inexpensive. I know you can get them at the dollar store. And so I fill a small tub with Orbeez, and then I just put in some little containers that I have laying around. These are old Play-Doh containers. This is a very small Tupperware container, probably dollar store. And it's just amazing how long they will sit there and pour and transfer. And are these going to get all over the floor? Probably, even though they do their best. I actually just dumped a few in my lap. So it's not a big deal. Just leave them. You can try to pick them up, but if you don't get them, guess what? In 2 or 3 days, they're going to dry up, and there'll be this little plastic thing that'll just vacuum up. Not a big deal. Even if they get smushed, it's going to dry up and just be this little plastic piece. So super easy, super engaging. That's a good one. Another one for touch that my students love, and I have a small tub of this at each table as well as a big one, is rice. And you can just use plain rice. Children are not picky, but what I've done is I've colored my rice, and that is a very easy project that children love to help with. What I did was each student had a Ziploc bag, and they got like a cup or 2 of rice, and then I put half a cup of vinegar and like 2 or 3 drops of whatever color they chose. So we also got to practice our colors and counting the drops, and then they just zip it up and they shake, and I had a small trash bag laid out, and when they were done, they would dump it out onto the trash bag, and we would spread it out and let it dry, and it takes 3 to 5 minutes. Then you can dump it in the big tub, and you've got colored rice, which they really do love. So in here, I've just got a couple of other little things. I even put a shell in here. This one's got a hole in it. They love this one. But you can see nothing is super expensive. This one is heaven. They love the glove. If you have latex allergies, make sure that your glove is latex free. But they fill the glove up with rice. And you could even do this so that you have a quick at the table fidget. Once it's full, then you have a whole nother texture type fidget. And so I always put a glove in mine, and I also do have one of these full of rice at the table that I can quickly hand over to a student who's getting a little antsy and might need a little fidget toy. So rice is amazing. Let's don't forget our best friend Play-Doh. If you're at the table using this, and if you've got 4 to 6 kids that you're working with at the same time, whether you're at home or at school, you might have one that needs a break and the others are ready to learn. So give them something quick at the table. They can either do it at the table, or sometimes I'll have them sit on the floor and do the sensory items so they're not distracting at the table. But there's no reason you can't keep teaching the other 5 while that one takes a break real quick. And you might be rotating out like that throughout your entire lesson, and that's okay. Let's see, here's another texture one. I love shaving cream. Shaving cream, I can give a kid a sensory break in the middle of a lesson, and I don't even have to stop teaching. I can use shaving cream for my reading lessons, if we're learning sounds, or we're spelling CVC words, if we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, if we're drawing shapes. Just take away the paper and pencil and replace it with some shaving cream. It's amazing. You'll have their attention immediately. It will be messy, but well worth it. Here's a quick one you probably have laying around at home. Slice off a little piece of bubble wrap. They love it. They get to hear the pop, and it gives you a feeling when you pop it, and kids love popping bubble wrap. I've got small tubs at my sensory table and at my own station, and I just keep a bottle of water under the table so I don't even have to interrupt the lesson that I'm teaching, so my other 5 kids are still learning while I'm filling this little tub that I've put 3 little sponges in, a little cup, and a spoon. It's that simple. And boom, I hand it over to Sally Joe. She's gonna sit on the floor, and she will entertain herself squeezing the water out of the sponges, filling up the cup, emptying the cup. It's water. If it gets on the floor, it's gonna dry. It's not a big deal, but it's a nice calm down sensory tool. Let's see. Fidgets. I got these at the dollar store. They've got long, skinny ones. They've got animals. They've got some with big eyes. They've got some with lights in them, all different kinds. These are super engaging. This can be something that they have while you're instructing, or it can be something that they just take a break with. Either way, nice, quick sensory tool. Inexpensive. Slinkies, another dollar store item. You can get them in plastic, you can get them in metal. Seems to mesmerize students. I got these at the dollar store. You can get bigger ones in pillow size at Walmart. All the kids will just rub them, and it's a sensory. They love it or they hate it. That's where you're going to come in with your trial and error. I've also bought some material at Joann's that has this sequency feel to it, and they'll just put it on their lap and rub back and forth on their lap. That works really great. Or you can hang some on the wall and they can touch it from the wall. And an ocean tub. I've got these at every station. All I did was put a little kinetic sand in there because it's not quite as messy. As you can see, kinetic sand is more of a Play-Doh effect, so it's going to be easier to clean up. Is it going to get on the floor? Yes, but it vacuums up. Not a big deal. And I have placed a handful of little sea creatures. And so they will hide the sea creatures in the play sand and then find them. And this is a real nice calm down sensory tool that my students love. Let's see, we've got sight. Glitter jars. This is my glitter jar, but for my students I put them in smaller, like pint or half pint jars, and before I give it to them I shake it up for them, or they can shake it however you want to work that. And sometimes they will just sit at the table and use it, or they might want to go to a quiet corner, get a stuffed animal. So once it's shook up, all it involves, and I have Orbeez in mine just for a little extra fun, is just watching the glitter settle, and it just brings them back down. So super easy, super fun. You can have it at a station, or you can have it right there at your table. And this is a great transition tool. If you want them to go from table A to table B, or we're walking to lunch and you have a student who has trouble standing in line, then give them a glitter jar to shake while they're going. It's not going to be distracting enough that they can't walk, but it's going to be distracting enough that they're only going to worry about what they're doing and not what everyone else is doing. That is all that I have today, but like I said, it's limitless. Just trial and error. Try something, see if it works. If it doesn't, try something else. Keeping in mind, smell, taste, touch, sight, and sound. I didn't touch on sound, but I have little CD players that I put, and so the students can sit at the table with earbuds, or they can go off to the corner with a plush Play-Doh or stuffed animal, and they can listen to a couple songs or some just music that they like, that's comforting to them. Some kids like country, some kids like classical, some kids like school songs, and that's a super easy way to implement sound into their day. And it could be that you just want to play soft, soothing music within your classroom. That's another thing that you can try, and if it works for everyone, great. This is just a few things. I hope some of it works for you. Have a great day.